A very good morning to you and welcome back. I'm Tanda Chemelu and you're now on the Entrepreneur Spotlight on the Weekend Show. Today we're going to be shining the spotlight on financial literacy, understanding and managing your finances. Now, with the explosive inflation rate currently being experienced nationally, it is expedient that we leverage on beneficial financial decisions such as budgeting and saving, investing, credit management, and debt reduction in order to reduce financial stress. On the Entrepreneur Spotlight today, we have a financial literacy expert with over a decade of experience in her field to throw more light on this topic. Good morning, Mrs. Temi Egenti Ibuama. Welcome to the Spotlight.
It's fine. Good morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Temi. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, so now
Like,
let's
yeah.
start from the root. What is financial literacy and why is it important?
So financial literacy really is about understanding how to manage your money wisely. It's about knowing, basically being money smart, knowing how to budget, how to spend smartly, how to invest, how to save, and do all this sustainably. That's basically what it is. So understanding how much do I earn? What am I using my money for? How much can I afford to save? And how long would that last me over time?
Okay, for those who don't have so much information on financial literacy, what are some common mistakes, some common financial mistakes that people make, and how can they be avoided?
Okay, so it's interesting you asked me this question today. I was just reading a Zikoko post about some people who were lamenting about some money mistakes they've made over time. And one of them was talking about how, oh, I regret relying on my pension because now it's not enough. Or the other one that was, complaining about focusing on other people and giving more people, preference in terms of how they manage their money by, spending more on them and not saving for herself. And now she's in a very uncomfortable position. Or the ones that are regretting making wrong investments. Look, when it comes to money mistakes, we need to always remember, and I'll probably say this 5 times during this conversation. Personal finance is personal. It's all around you and how you manage your money. Some of the key things that we do now, especially for young people, you are at the prime, you are at the time when you can consciously start avoiding making these mistakes. Number one, not saving, not having a budget. You don't have a budget, you don't have a plan for your money. That's the first mistake you make. You're not giving every
Basically,
cover a
freestyling
job.
it.
Hello?
I said basically freestyling it.
Yeah, basically, you're not giving every cover a job. You just, oh, I've gotten paid. And before you realize it, you're not even sure what you did with the money. But here's the interesting thing about that. You can budget, you can plan, and you still would do it all wrong because you're not saving. So even after you budget, you need to make sure you're not living beyond your means. And then you need to make sure that you're saving. Ignoring your savings is a major problem. You hear people say, na person we don't chop, go save. Well, imagine that you don't save anything and 2 weeks after payday, you're broke. Guess what you do? You go and borrow money. And that's the next mistake. We're not just borrowing money from family and friends with no interest. We are borrowing money at ridiculous interest rates. I saw an app, I was playing a game, and these games with adverts coming up, and the interest rate is 0.4% a day. It sounds
Wow.
small. In a year, that's 140%. So even if you just borrow 100,000, in your mind, it's a little amount you can pay it back quickly. Before you know it, the interest it keeps snowballing. And then, of course, we now come to investments. We make emotional decisions around investing. They said this one, if I do it, I'll get 20% in a year. That's low. This other person is giving 48%. Let me go to that. You make that investment without knowledge. It crashes. The next thing you're doing, God forbid, me put my money anywhere. My money will stay in the bank. At least I know where it is, even if it's only 2% they are giving me. You've gone from making bad investments to making no investments, and all of it is just all around your emotions. So not managing our emotions when it comes to financial decisions. These are some of the key mistakes people make, and they snowball over time. And at the end of the day, you find yourself in retirement regretting decisions you made.
Interesting. You mentioned people wanting to keep their money in the bank in order to feel secure. And from following some of your online content, you said something like your money loses value in the bank. So that's one thing I grabbed from following some of your content, which brings me to my next question now, which is kind of personal. Now, in the past couple of years, we've experienced tremendous inflation in the economy, more than 200, 300% inflation in the price of petrol, the price of forex, and then the price of basic daily commodities. It trickles down, actually.
Mhm.
And recently, a bill was passed to increase minimum wage to 70,000 naira, which is just on paper because some people are still getting paid way, way less than that. So, how can I cope with inflation as my income remains constant, and what are some smart ways to invest my money?
Okay. So if you didn't have a budget before, you need a budget. If you had a budget before, you need to rework your budget because 90% of the time that budget is no longer realistic today. There are some other few tips here and there. Buy in bulk where possible. Move away from big brands. Go to smaller things as much as possible. Go off brands. A lot of stores are now stocking purely Nigerian brands. I went in to buy hand wash sometime last year and I realized they don't have any of the hand wash I used to buy before. Even you, so the stores are forcing you now to buy what you can afford. Cut down where possible. Cut down as much as possible. Now we have band A. This band A, I'm sure inside band A, there's band A, there's band A plus, there's band A plus plus. Because the bills some of us are paying for electricity is ridiculous. I've managed your cost. Turn off all the lights. I have lights on now. I'm even wondering why I have it on. Turn off all your lights. Stay in darkness. Turn off your freezer every once in a while. Just basically, the truth is you have to be smart about cutting things where you can. This is not the time to be bougie. But if you then are someone who has loans, you need to try and cut them out. Interest rates are high. Even the cheapest loans are ridiculous. Cut them out as much as possible. If you work in a company where there is a cooperative, I actually have a client who had a loan with a bank. She was paying 28%, and her cooperative had an option that she could have been paying 9%, and she wasn't taking it. Why?
Interesting. So,
Look
Mrs.
into
Temi,
your
I'm very sorry
environment.
to cut you off,
Okay.
but we're running low on time right now.
Okay.
Even though your response right now, I felt like you were shouting at me because it was very direct. I could relate to a lot of points that you made. So, but finally, before I let you go, personally, when I go out to like certain restaurants or certain places and I get a bill, I see there's a total amount of how much I've spent, then there's a service charge, and then there's still a 7.5% VAT, all added to accrue to a gross total, which adds like extra 10, 15% to what I actually spent. So my next question is, can you throw more light on this 7%, 7.5% VAT imposed on customers by business owners? Is it legal to make a customer pay VAT and service charge on a service instead of the owner of the business?
VAT is called value added tax. It's basically you paying taxes on the value that has been added to you. It is legal and it is for the consumer to pay. However, there are things that are vatable and things that are not. You went to the restaurant, you sat down on the table and they brought food to you. That service they rendered, you have to pay. So right now, these are ways to cut our costs. Eat at home. But in more serious notes,
Why are you
there
shouting?
are things that are not vatable. So, for example, school fees, rent, those are
Yeah.
VAT free. Basic food stuff in the market, they're VAT free. In most restaurants, when you pay VAT, you're not necessarily paying on the food you consumed, you're paying on the service charge. So, as long as it's an added service, it's not a basic necessity for survival, you pay VAT on it.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Temi. I'm very engrossed in this conversation, and I wish we could have more of it on subsequent episodes of the show. But thank you for being here, and we hope
Thank
to
you.
see more of you later on the Entrepreneur Spotlight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, this is where we have to draw the curtains on the Entrepreneur Spotlight. For more information, be sure to follow Mrs. Temi on at Financial Literacy with Temi on Instagram. Trust me, she has a lot of content that will benefit you in these times. How to save your money, how to grow your money, and how to invest and manage your finances. Well, it's Tender Chemelu signing out. Follow at Tenderly on Instagram for my personal content and at Weekend Show NG on social media for subsequent episodes of the Weekend Show. I'll be handing over to Emeka Ozorumwa for the poetic interlude. Good morning, Emeka.